Hey everyone, this is Shakti from Around the Wicket, where we not only speak about the game, but we try to learn more about the humans behind our sport. Now, cricket broadcasting landscape is continuously changing and evolving with more and more female commentators, broadcasters, and presenters in the sport, and deservedly so. Our guest today is somewhat of a trailblazer in that regards, as she has been a pioneer for women's voice in the game for a long time. Alison Mitchell is the first female commentator to be part of the Test match special for BBC with the ball-by-ball commentary. She was part of Channel 7 last couple of summers here in Australia, covering international matches. And she was the first female to commentate on men's international matches for ABC Grandstand. So it's great to have Alison here on Around the Wicket. Thank you so much for joining me, Alison.
Hi Shakti, it's good to be here as well.
So tell us how things are going. Obviously, great to see some cricket on the pitch with the groundbreaking series West Indies against the UK, and obviously the recently concluded Test series between Pakistan and England, and obviously the T20 series going on. How have you been spending your time, and how busy are you? Most people would like to be in your shoes, I guess.
I feel very, very lucky that I'm actually covering some cricket this summer, and you catch me in my bio bubble hotel room in Manchester.
Neat.
Life has pretty much been split between the Old Trafford cricket ground and the Ageas Bowl down in Southampton, and it's just been a lot of motorway driving between the two, and some brilliant cricket in between. So when you think back to where we were back in the early stages of the pandemic, and you feared that there would just be no cricket played this English summer, men's or women's, and all of a sudden we're on the brink of we can see the end of the men's international summer with the Aussies now here, and the T20s and the ODIs to complete with them. And then England women now have fixtures as well with the West Indies coming over. So it's been an absolutely remarkable effort. But I am now intimately acquainted with, I think, every corner of the Old Trafford cricket ground, because we're not allowed outside of the stadium. So there's been lots of people doing laps and laps around the ground as exercise pretty much. So I'm well familiar with the concourses around the back of Old Trafford.
And we welcome that as well, because we've been starved of cricket, so it was great to see some action. Broadcasting wise, Alison, you've been part of broadcasting for over 15 years now. Obviously, must have
make me feel old.
various emotions and various experiences. So when did it all start for you, and how has this, the overall experience been for yourself till date?
Well, I guess broadcasting started for me when I was at school, actually, and I got a part-time job in my local BBC radio station, doing everything from emptying the tape bins to making tea and coffee to wrapping up the prizes for the prize winners from the phone-ins. So learning, everything about how local radio station works. But, I was always a sports nut growing up. So I grew up in a family, the cricket being the central theme, because my mum, as you know, is Australian and my dad is English. So an Australian rivalry was sort of front and centre to my upbringing. And I had an older brother. He was into his sports as well and played cricket to a good level, played some age group county cricket. And so cricket was always being played in the garden. It was always played at our family picnics, and certainly we used to come across to Australia for every alternate Christmas growing up. So I was very, very lucky in that respect. We'd come over, visit all my mum's family, and again, cricket on the TV, growing up with Richie Benaud and the Nine coverage, and listening to the ABC and playing cricket on the beach, switching on the headlights of my aunt's car and playing our own floodlit cricket on the driveway. So all these experiences sort of add up to just a love of the game. And learning about it more formally for me, I guess getting kind of geeky about cricket came when I was at university, and I did my dissertation based on the relationship between cricket and television. So that got me more into the political side of the game and the economic side of the game, but also, the nuances of the meaning of the game, the emotional connections people have, levels of morality sort of within the game. That though opened the doors to the broadcasting side of the game, because as part of my research for all of that, I shadowed Channel 4 and Sky Sports, the two broadcasters who were co-sharing the cricket coverage in this country at the time. And off the back of that, I got a job as a runner on Channel 4 cricket. So all of a sudden, making tea and coffee for Richie Benaud, commentating for Channel 4, but just being a sponge. I know, cappuccino, no sugar. But just being a sponge and watching and learning and seeing how a television operation worked. It was the best grounding. And I already knew at that point that I did want to go into media and sports, and cricket was sort of the natural sport that I, was most ensconced in, if you like. I was much more involved in a depth, and it sort of, I guess, went from there really. We just applying for a job at BBC Asian Network was where I started. That was after I'd done a journalism qualification, so geography degree, postgrad in broadcast journalism, and then getting a first job on a sports desk with BBC, and then working away through there. So first test match reporting in 2003, first tour was with England Women, South Africa World Cup in 2005. Later that year, finding myself in Pakistan with the England men's test team just after they'd won the Ashes in that little series that happened in '05. So quite a journey since then.
Yeah, and most people don't know that you don't only cover cricket, you have been covering Wimbledon and golf and whatnot.
I have felt really fortunate to have had the opportunity to expand. I think once I began commentating on cricket, and that came about, really by me saying, look, I'm reporting on the game, but I was getting about 30 seconds once an hour to sum up, a 2 innings championship match, or sometimes 9 championship matches. And I just had more I wanted to say about the game. So I started commentating into a tape and getting some feedback and listening back. But once I'd established myself in terms of commentating on cricket, the powers that be within radio sport at the BBC realised that I was capable of translating those skills to other sports. Sometimes again by fortune and a bit of slice of luck, and just being thrust into a situation that you have to respond to, which for me was at the Beijing Olympics in 2008, where I very, very out of the blue got a phone call saying, can you get to the gymnastics? There's a Brit in the final of the pommel horse and we don't have a gymnastics reporter or commentator. So I suddenly head to the gymnastics arena, and very, very quickly had to doss up on the pommel horse enough to be able to describe, a sort of minute-long pommel horse routine. And that was the start of me then having gymnastics as my Olympic sport, which I followed all the way through to the Rio Games in 2016. So that took me around the world at World and Olympic champs. And tennis commentary, the same. There's been hockey, there's been netball commentary for television as well. So it's been pretty varied.
I don't know if you follow Roy and HG in the Sydney Olympic commentary. I'm pretty sure you would have done a different job today.
My spies in Australia were sending me clips over during the Sydney Olympics.
When it comes to cricket commentary, though, do you feel the landscape is changing personally for you, with more and more networks starting to appreciate, respect and value the women's voice, when it comes to calling or analysing the games?
Yeah, I mean, changing is an interesting word, because I'd say it's already changed. And we're already at a place which is so different to when I started. And I'm so pleased about that, because I always felt that, I was a bit of I was an outlier really. When I was starting out, I was the only female on countless cricket tours that I went on in terms of the broadcasting, or even in the journalism pack. And I was aware of Natalie Germanos in South Africa, who also started her career about the same time as me in radio. And our careers have followed a sort of similar path in terms of radio commentary. But I was in the fortunate position with the BBC of travelling the world, and I suppose being a bit more visible, because I was out on the ground at World Cup events, and the BBC was often then the host broadcaster. So my commentary would appear on ABC in Australia, for example, and different networks around the world. But certainly at that time, there was no sort of forthcoming desire, if you like, to have mixed broadcasting teams. It wasn't something that broadcasters were actively looking for. So you really felt like you had to prove yourself in a different way. Back then, attitudes were, I certainly felt that it was presumed that a man would know about cricket intimately, and as a woman, you absolutely had to prove that you did. There was no assumption of knowledge. In fact, it was the complete opposite. The number of questions I would be asked from people who'd say, you commentate on the radio. Did someone tell you what to say? Comments like this, which, and I'm always very happy to say, no, pretty much on my own. Sometimes in a commentary box, totally on my own, reporting matches. No one's in your headphones sort of telling you how to describe deliveries or how to read the game and what's happening next. So, attitudes have changed. Yeah. Broadcasters have had their minds open to the fact that women are knowledgeable about cricket and can be knowledgeable about cricket. the rise in profile of the women's game itself and the players that play it, meaning that those players who are now stepping out of careers can legitimately turn to a career in broadcasting in a way that wasn't possible sort of when I was starting out, for sure. But the one thing which, you know, I was always very conscious of was wanting to normalise the voice of women as commentators, not just in cricket but across sports. And once you start to do that, then those questions and that sense of outrage that a woman could be commentating on men's sport in particular, you know, start to fade away. Not saying it doesn't still exist, because we know that it does, but the environment that I made my international commentary debut in 2007, which was the inaugural T20 World Cup in South Africa, the whole environment is very different now. Back then in 2007, we made the conscious decision as the BBC and myself not to announce that I was making my international debut because of the outcry that it might bring. You know, even though I had, if you like, earned my stripes because I'd been doing county commentaries and I'd sort of worked my way into the commentary box, but there was still a sense of, well, you know, there could be absolute outrage. And I just wanted to I recognised at that time that the best way if I wanted to achieve that end goal of normalising the voice of the female, I, at that point, just needed to get my head down and sort of fly under the radar and just do a good job, so that one day people would go, oh yeah, there's been a woman doing it for ages. Oh yeah, and sort of not even really think that you're hearing a woman's voice. You're just hearing a commentator commentate on cricket. That's
actually a very good segue, because, you know, a project that you are, you know, that means a lot to you is the Cricket Writers Club, which you're a chair of. Like you said, when you first started off, you put your head down, you know, decided to stay away from the limelight, you know, get the job done. But how important do you feel something like this is, like the Cricket Writers Club is, for all the young female media talent that are coming through?
Yeah, I think when I took over the Cricket Writers Club, and it's been in existence since 1946, but it was started off as a social club, really. And over the years, it has evolved that members are broadcasters, they're writers, they're photographers, anyone involved in the media coverage of the game. But it's a body which has enormous potential for what it can do and to how it can encourage the members that it does have, but also the youngsters who are looking to get involved in the next generation of journalists, whether it be broadcasters, writers or photographers. So this year, just a couple of months ago, we decided that we would launch a student membership, which is a very, very new thing. It's now off the ground, and we've got our first cohort of student members. So I just want to really be throwing the arms open to try and encourage and to show encouragement for all those who have been traditionally underrepresented in the British media. So it's diversity, not just male, female, it's across ethnicities as well. So that's a real aim of mine, to be able to just give some resources. I mean, I'm not going to try and sort of blow it up to bigger than it is, because we all do this on a voluntary basis. And everyone, you know, has mega busy jobs, but there's a really good cohort who are keen and enthusiastic to make their way into cricket. And if we as senior journalists can help to show a way, whether it's a resource pack on a sort of guide to the cricket media, whether it's some networking events and Q&As on Zoom, where we can, you know, give tips and help. So I get a lot of requests, and always have done, from young men, as you know, young guys as well as girls, wanting some advice on to, you know, how best to prepare for commentary, even just, you know, everything about working in the industry. So if we can manage to do that in a slightly more formalised way, but show people that yes, the cricket media is a welcoming place. By extension, hopefully it gives more of the impression that cricket as a sport is a welcoming place. So we've got a role to play, and hopefully this student membership with the Cricket Writers Club is just one way of helping to achieve that. Yeah, it's www.cricketwriters.com.
Okay.
So pretty easy to remember, cricketwriters.com, but it is for for photographers, broadcasters and writers who are working professionally in the game. And so there's a link there to the student membership page, which you'll be able to find, and then people can have a read of what the criteria is for membership of that.
Excellent. I will make sure that I'll share that. Preparation, you know, obviously it is the key to, you know, a good execution of broadcasting. Yourself, for example, what do you do to prepare before a test match or a test series? How do you prepare yourself best?
I'm just seeing if I've got my notes here because I am. So what is this? This is England v Pakistan T20s. You won't be able to sort of really read any of that, but I've got grids. Yeah. No, it's got a bit of colour going on there, but I've sort of got grids for each match in the sort of six T20s in all, 3 Pakistan, 3 Australia. So as we go along, I'll be noting the scores and the wicket takes in each, so that at a glance I can look down and be, they got 20 runs off, 30 balls in the first innings or in the first game, and just everything at a glance. You can over prepare for sure. I just have a bit of a routine that I have got into, which makes me feel that I am settled and I've looked up what I need to look up. And if some scenario crops up in the middle of a match, 90% of what's on that sheet I might not use or need at all across 6 T20 internationals. But I just want to be in a situation that if something happens and I go, I've looked that up, I made a note about that, I know exactly where to go to have that information at my fingertips. So I'm always going through, I'm going through each squad. I'm looking at, maybe recent injuries, pathways, just any particular nice backstories. And I think that's the real journalist in me, is about the storytelling, and, a bit like your podcast as well. It's about the human side of the men and women who are playing cricket themselves. So it's not just, cricketers are not stats and numbers, are they? They've all got a backstory. And I think to humanize the people that we're seeing out on the field helps to create a connection with the audience. So, but I've certainly run down a few 4-colour biros in my time.
I've done a little bit of commentary, and it's not an easy job. So, I'm happy that you do it, and you do it really, really well. I guess over this course of time of broadcasting, presenting and commentating, you would have experienced some challenges, firstly being a female, obviously, and you touched on some of those. What are some of the other challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I guess going back to that point about when I started just wanting to sort of get the head down and not kind of, if you like, court publicity. And it's fantastic now that women in broadcasting can, well, A, they're sought out for interviews, and B, they can be loud and proud and upstanding about being those role models. And Ishika is doing it brilliantly at the moment as a key figurehead presenting the cricket on the BBC, that she can stand up and say, yes, I represent diversity. I am a British Asian female presenting cricket on the BBC. And I get the most satisfaction out of, bumping into, parents with a young girl or boy, but, it happens with a lot of young girls who their parents will say, thank you so much for having your voice, coming through our radio and TV, because it says to our daughter that women are as involved in cricket as men, and it does make a difference. And I think for a while, when you're so ensconced in it, you can forget that you are having a wider impact, because you're just head down sort of doing the job and concentrating on doing as good a job as you can. So it's really gratifying if you get a sense that you have been a role model to people. And I think I've been more and more acutely aware of wanting to be a role model, and to be able to show people that cricket is for all and can be for all. But broadcasting challenges, well, there's a couple of times due to some health problems which cropped up, where once I definitely thought I would never have a career in television, and once where I thought I might not ever be able to commentate again. So the TV side came when I just turned 30 and got a bout of ophthalmic shingles. I don't know whether anyone has ever had shingles before. Ophthalmic shingles. So this whole side of my face,
one side,
completely blistered.
Wow.
It was, and I couldn't bear anyone touching my head. I couldn't see. I couldn't really open my eyes. I couldn't stand the light. And I was in a pretty bad way I think I remember being bedridden for the first 3 weeks completely, like not really being able to move. Before I started to sort of see a bit of an upward curve. But I was being told that I could be left with, I still do have some scars in my cornea, but it's nothing which has overtly affected my eyesight, obviously, apart from having to wear glasses when I commentate, so I can actually see what's going on, which always helps. But thankfully, the blistering sort of did heal up. But there's a time when you just think, television is a visual medium, like it shouldn't, you sort of think it shouldn't be like that, but you kind of know the reality of it. But then a few years after that, I suffered a lung collapse, And that was sort of more scary because I didn't really understand the severity of it until I got into A&E. And one of the doctors said to me, right, just stay here. I'm going to bring the senior doctor in to have a word with you. And I said, oh, can I just, make a phone call? Can I nip to the loo before that happens? And he looked at me like I was mad and said something about going into tension. And so I just sort of went, and sat still and didn't move. And then it was only later when I Googled it and I found out that, because my left lung had completely collapsed at this stage. No. I had an x-ray and they just said, you have no left lung. And my only symptom, by the way, had been a dry cough and a bit of a niggle in the side, which I'd been having physio on. So I'm always telling people, right, if you're coughing, if you think you might have strained a muscle, just get it checked out, because that was my only symptom. If I had moved suddenly or done any sudden exercise, tension is when your heart is put under pressure by the fact that you only have one lung, it's not getting the oxygen around, and you can die. And I'm sort of glad that I didn't understand that at the time, because I might have done a bit of a panic. But as it was, I was in A&E. They managed to reinflate the lung to about 90%, but not fully. And I ended up having major lung surgery a few weeks after that. And the recovery for that was very long and very painful. And that was when I was struggling to speak because I couldn't get any breath. And that thing that you take for granted in life is just being able to breathe.
Yeah.
And you don't realize how much breathing in is what you need to be able to talk. And I could barely whisper for many weeks. And the idea of being able to speak with any gusto and punch and energy that you need for commentating was so far away at that stage. So that was quite a challenging time mentally. It was very easily could have happened very easily for dark thoughts to come in and think, I'm never going to be able to commentate again. And it sort of did cross my mind. But I was able to somehow push it out of my mind and just think, no, I just need to be patient and get better. And fortunately for me, I did get better.
Those are some real confronting challenges. Not many times you hear, physical challenges, mostly mental challenges that people discuss. So all the best. Hopefully, your health, rides well long into your career. I guess I wanted to ask you about your memories, some of the best memories that you've experienced, and some of the memories that you wished you probably did not experience as well. Some of the toughest memories, in this period of time in journalism.
Well, there's been quite a few sort of major cricket events that I've been involved in, and some of the best, absolutely, those moments, like being in the stadium in the 2011 World Cup final when India won it, was incredible. Being at Lords when England won the World Cup final was just an immense occasion. The Ashes contests that I have witnessed, and just some of those one-on-one duels and battles, and of course Archer v Steve Smith in the most recent one, but the 2005 Ashes, because I was quite young in my broadcasting career at that stage, I was a boundary reporter.
Oh, wow.
So the commentary was done in this 360-degree way, where they stationed a couple of us literally behind the boundary rope, sitting on the grass with our backs to the advertising hoardings with a microphone in hand. And Justin Langer was often fielding on the boundary right in front of me. So I was sort of watching most of the Oval Test match kind of between Justin Langer's legs as he was standing right in front of me at ground level. But that was immense. I covered the Trafalgar Square parade the next day. I'm sure through gritted teeth, some pictures of that made its way back to Australia as Freddie came sort of tumbling out of the Prime Minister's house. And so I had this was prior the days of Wi-Fi broadcasting. I was balanced on the sort of halfway up like the plinth of Nelson's column in Trafalgar Square with a satellite dish kind of precariously balanced on the corner of the column on the concrete plinth, with this elaborate setup of wires everywhere. And as the double-decker buses kind of rolled in across Trafalgar Square, that was a day that I will never ever forget. Trafalgar Square, the 05 Ashes. I mean, some of the more difficult, challenging periods as a journalist would have been 2008 on the England Test tour when the Mumbai terror attacks happened. That was because after, of course, the atrocities that had been happening in Mumbai, we were over in Cuttack with the England team at the time when we first heard what had been going on. And the fate of the England team, sort of what would happen to the tour, could the England team be targets themselves, was sort of, you know, second or third in the running orders.
Yeah.
So it's one of those occasions where it's just incredibly crazy from a BBC perspective. You learn how massive the organisation is. Something I'd experienced the year before covering Bob Woolmer's suspected murder at the World Cup, where I was kind of there single-handedly. But yeah, the Mumbai terror attacks, it was horrendous watching things unfold on the television screens. Eventually the tour got rearranged, and we were able to come back for a test series. And one of my favourite moments in cricket for kind of heartwarming nature of it was when Sachin hit a 4 off the
Chennai.
I think 4 was needed to win, and brought up his 100. So it was a second innings 100 to win a test match, and he dedicated it to Mumbai, who's a Mumbaiker. It was a really beautiful sort of moment.
Yeah.
But a test match that was also remembered for all the super security that was in at that time, the sharpshooters, the bomb squad, anti-sabotage unit. The only thing that India's Rapid Action Force, who are the main counter-terrorism unit, were needed for in that match was to rescue a BBC reporter who was stuck in the lavatory in the tea break, which was me, because I nipped down from my broadcasting position to go to the toilet. Didn't take my phone with me, but yeah, some kind of lock clunked and there was no handle either side of the door. It was about 40 degrees. There was mosquitoes buzzing around. It was hot, humid, sticky in Chennai. And I was stuck in the toilet, and I had to get the Rapid Action Force to kick the door down.
That's hilarious.
They got me out.
Recently, one of someone you know well, Geoffrey Boycott, Sir Geoffrey Boycott, who's known for his opinions, obviously, made some controversial comments. Obviously, got some backlash. Lisa Sthalekar, for example, from Australia, who let her thoughts be known. Sir Geoffrey well. I guess with you, what was your opinion of what he said about female cricket experts commenting on male matches?
Yeah, I actually wrote an article as well in response to it, because I feel as if everybody commentates on cricket from their perspective. And I've never heard a female commentate on the men's game pretending they know what it's like to face 90 miles an hour bowling. I think every viewpoint is a valid viewpoint. And it's up to, editors and program producers will have their idea of what mix of views and viewpoints they want, and also what image of the game they want to project. Again, as broadcasters, we're visible and we're projecting an image of who the game is for and who it is welcoming to. And so having mixed commentary teams on test matches absolutely gives that sense of cricket is for everybody. And so somebody like Lisa Sthalekkar's views, and indeed Ebony Rainford-Brent and Anisha Guha and Mel Jones and Natalie Germano, Natalie does lead commentary, but the ex-players who are in the positions, because that was Geoffrey's point, was very much about the ex-players who are working as summarisers and pundits on the game. But those ex-cricketers can still read a game of cricket. They still have knowledge of the game. They still have expertise. They will still know the people. They still know the politics of cricket. And I think everybody watches cricket. Everyone watches cricket knowing who it is who is speaking, and therefore understanding the perspective. No one is ever pretending to be someone who they're not. And that for me is the bottom line. Everyone's viewpoint is valid. And if everyone is true to themselves, no one's pretending to be who they're not. So therefore, a diversity of thought and diversity of approach, for me, makes for a richer cricket broadcast.
I guess coming to the current scenario, obviously very, very different circumstances. Obviously we had the West Indies versus England tour. It was interesting because there's other things that played a part in that series. The Black Lives Matter movement, which was very admirably, accepted by both teams, and then Pakistan coming in and spending some time in England playing Test series. How different was it for you as a commentator? Having no crowd there, firstly, and with so much happening behind the scenes. Because as a viewer, for us, we stood up listening to experiences from the great Michael Holding or Ebony Rainford, as you were talking about. So for yourself personally, what was that experience like?
The whole period, and I think even before I got to the cricket ground with Black Lives Matter, it had affected me more than lockdown had. I felt such pain for friends of mine, not least, but wider stories than that. I consumed an awful lot of material, and I think with a lot of people, it made you aware. You've sort of always been aware, but not consciously aware, and it's absolutely made you sit up and go, this is not acceptable, and we all need to be allies for our friends and be supportive of each other. So yeah, even before coming to the cricket, I had educated myself a lot and watched a number of programs and consumed a lot of material. But then coming here and hearing Mikey and Ebony speak so passionately, and I'd already spent a bit of time with Ebs in the lead up to the test. It was incredibly moving and powerful, and it went around the world and made the sort of impact that it deserved to make. So follow that up with the players in the way Jason Holder led his West Indies team, the salutes, the taking the knee at the start of matches. It's been powerful symbolism. But then if we're talking cricket, there's wider societal issues, but in terms of cricket, then symbolism is one thing, but it's action. And okay, what follows that up? What tangibly is going to be done to make sure that our cricketing society is materially and actually different and better going forwards? So we've seen some initiatives being announced. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes with the PCA, even with the ECB, and even at board levels of all these organisations is looking and saying, well, actually, are we diverse enough? Are we representing our different communities amongst our key decision makers?
Yeah.
And that's got to be something which absolutely needs to be looked at, because tones are set from the very top. So if something sort of tangible, it's something tangible has got to come out of this summer to help move us forward. Yeah. The question of playing without crowds, I'm actually looking out. If I keep looking out beyond the camera here, it's because I'm facing the Old Trafford ground, which is still again absolutely empty. We've got the T20 tonight, but weirdly, once you actually get behind the microphone and you start
you're just in
about the game. Yeah, you are in the moment. I mean, there's been a lot of moments throughout the summer where you've paused and gone, if there was a crowd in right now, they would be going nuts. Moments where, so when Joss Buttler and Ben Stokes walked out to open the batting, in the second innings in one of the West Indies test matches here at Old Trafford. So many moments where you just go, that is intensity. The crowd would have been going wild. Even Owen Morgan creaming his sixes around the place. So the crowd, the cricketing public has missed out on being able to be here, but it makes then our jobs even more significant in terms of getting the game out. So you feel like you're in an incredibly privileged position to be witnessing the cricket live, but B, knowing actually how important the commentary then becomes for those who aren't able to physically get to the ground. So you just hope that you're always hoping in commentary actually that you're doing the players justice, and you're doing justice to the job and to the game for those who are listening at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's ironic that, one of the most powerful messages in cricket happened with no crowd there. One thing is the bio bubble that gets talked up a lot, the biosecurity bubble. Tell us about what it involves as media personalities. What do you guys have to do and what do you have to follow in terms of regulations and restrictions?
We're all locked in, and we've been here for weeks. I mean, some people, I think some people have genuinely stopped counting the number of nights because it's probably not a healthy thing to do. I have had a couple of breaks home in between and come back. I've had 2 or 3 days in the midst of the test matches, and I didn't do the last test match, so I had a little decent stretch at home. But then that's weird because you're going out of an environment where actually once we're in here, you're still not allowed to relax. We're still, masks on and gloves on when you're at meal times, mask on everywhere you move around the hotel. We're still got social distancing rules in place. We're tagged so that our movements can be tracked inside the bubble. So someone somewhere is watching, screen with a whole load of little ants, checking that the Bluetooth tags we've got on us are not coming within 2 meters of each other. So, but you actually, you forget to a degree, once you're in here, you're able to relax and you're amongst company. Whereas actually you go home, and because people still aren't doing much socially and people are still working from home, there's actually way more social interaction here inside the bubble than if you go outside the bubble, you know, depending on what your home circumstances are, of course.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I've got no complaints. Like, we've been looked after really, really well. And we've had some epic table tennis matches,
Yes,
I tell you that, because here at Old Trafford, they've got the hospitality suite about halfway round, and that's been given over to a darts board, table tennis table. We've had Jimmy Anderson with us for these T20s against Pakistan. So we had the quite amusing sight last night of Jimmy in the Red Rose suite. Lancashire is his county. So he was standing throwing darts at a darts board, and right next to the darts board there's this enormous photograph of Jimmy Anderson full flight bowling. So, you know, it was quite surreal. We're like, well, I think we should sort of be here, like, you're meant to be out there playing. But we had, what do we have, Andrew Strauss taking on Phil Tufnell at table tennis was intense. You know, some interesting techniques, you know, with the bat and the grip on the handle from Mr. Tufnell. Adam Mahmood was with us as well. Mark Ramprakash, they took each other on the table tennis. We've had some games of car park cricket out here as well, because again, we're not meant to really, you know, can't leave the confines of the ground. So it had to be a little bit inventive about how we... Bumble did a quiz the other night for us all.
I saw that. I saw that on social media. You guys have been keeping busy.
Do you know what, though? There's something about playing any sport with former international cricketers, because they take it so seriously, and annoyingly they're all really, really good, which I think probably comes from many, many hours spent on tour or in team rooms and whiling away the time playing table tennis. So there was little hope for the rest of us mere mortals.
And obviously great hand and eye coordination. See if we can make it very, very quick. Your favorite match to commentate on?
Oh, ever? These are rapid fire, aren't they? I'm going to say something that I don't mean. Oh, Headingley 2019. Gone.
Yeah, of course.
Ben Stokes.
Your favorite cricketer currently?
Ooh, Pat Cummins.
Australian. Well, whoa. One contest that you would love to call that you haven't at the moment?
Ooh,
it doesn't have to involve cricket either.
Cricket. Well, you know, I'd love to be someone that could call 100 meters Olympic final.
Yes.
Because I used to, you know, we grew up watching the Olympics. I'm not sure I'd get all the words out quickly enough in 10 seconds, but, you know, I'll work on that.
That would be amazing. Funniest colleague in your commentary box?
The finest?
Funniest.
Oh, the funniest. Oh, I have to go Tuffers. Yeah. Tuffers is always comedic. He hosted he's a captain on the quiz show Question of Sport over here on the BBC, long-running quiz show, and they went through a phase of having comedians alongside the captains. It's usually a captain and two sportsmen or women, and they went through a phase of having comedians on the panel. I went to watch one of those shows go out live, and Tuffers was still the funniest person in the room.
Who is your favorite cricket caller of all time?
Oh, well, Richie Benaud was just my kind of icon growing up, really, so I'm going to go Richie.
And what an apprenticeship you got as well. Calling the Wimbledon or Ashes?
Ooh, depends what match of Wimbledon you see. I've done a lot of one-sided round one matches down on court 562. So I'm going to go Ashes. Of course, I'll go Ashes.
Of course. All right. Commentator that you really admire in the current group of callers?
Oh, well, lots really. I mean, you learn from everyone who you sit with alongside. I mean, for radio, Jonathan Agnew is still the best radio caller. His relaxed style, but still his quick, you know, ability to change pace, to tell you what's happening, to have that conversation with the person alongside. From a television perspective, I mean, summarisers, I love sitting next to Ricky Ponting. I love listening to either Mike Atherton or Nasser Hussain in the lead commentary position. There you go, there's a few names.
Yeah, they're great names. One final question, your favourite place you called a match?
Favourite place? Well, I mean, I love the Adelaide Oval, of course. That's where my mum is from. Yeah. I'll give you that. I don't even go further. One day I'll get to Dharamshala. Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, most cricketers actually say that they love playing at the Adelaide Oval. So, you know, something similar.
They renovated it very sympathetically, I think. Yeah. Kept the heritage scoreboard, kept the big trees in the hill. So, but it's always going to have a bit of a special place in my heart.
Awesome. Thank you, Alison. Thank you so much for joining me on Around the Wicket. I personally, you know, am a massive admirer of your work. All the best for the cricket season, and hopefully all the little girls and, you know, little boys that want to get into cricket media, you know, can follow the work that you are doing. yeah, just stay
Yeah,
safe.
hopefully it makes them pick up a bat as well and a ball and have a go.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. Have a good
Cheers,
call
Shakti.
this afternoon.
Thank you. See you later.